For more than 50 years, one scientific problem refused to be solved. It stalled cures for deadly diseases. It confused some of the smartest minds on the planet. And it hid one of the most fundamental secrets of life itself. This wasn't just a theory buried in textbooks. It was a puzzle where the pieces are atoms. The blueprint is a genetic code. And the final shape decides whether life works, or breaks. Every cell in your body depends on it. Every disease, every drug, every biological process. And for decades, humanity couldn't crack it. Then, in 2020, something unexpected happened. It wasn't a Nobel Prize-winning scientist. It wasn't a new lab technique. And it wasn't a supercomputer running longer simulations. It was an artificial intelligence. An AI called AlphaFold solved what humans couldn't. This is how artificial intelligence cracked the protein folding problem. And why it changes everything. Every living thing follows a simple rule called the central dogma of biology. Information flows in one direction. DNA becomes RNA, which becomes a chain of amino acids. And finally, a folded protein. That last step is where everything broke down. We knew the DNA. We knew the amino acid sequence. But how that long chain folded itself into a precise 3D shape. That was the mystery scientists couldn't solve for 50 years. Now imagine this. You're given a string of 500 beads. Each bead a different shape. Each one covered in tiny magnets. You know the exact order of the beads. But then, you drop the string into a swirling fountain of water. And in a single millisecond, it snaps into one perfect, intricate shape. No instructions. No trial and error. Just physics. That's protein folding. We knew the bead order, the sequence. But predicting the final shape? That was the impossible part. And this isn't just academic. Because in biology, shape is function. If a protein folds correctly, it works. If it folds wrong, everything can go wrong. Misfolded proteins are linked to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cystic fibrosis. Sometimes, a single folding mistake is the difference between health and disease. And this is where medicine comes in. To design a drug, you need to know the protein's shape. Because drugs work like keys. They're designed to fit perfectly into a protein lock. No shape. No key. No cure. For decades, drug discovery was slowed down because we simply couldn't see what we were targeting. So that was the problem. We had the genetic code. We had the sequence. But the final shape, the most important piece, was hidden. Until artificial intelligence entered the story. For decades, scientists didn't ignore this problem. They attacked it from every angle. Thousands of researchers dedicated their careers to it. Supercomputers ran day and night. And entire global projects were built for a single goal. Just to predict how one protein folds. One of the biggest efforts was called folding at home. It used the combined power of millions of personal computers around the world. People volunteered their laptops, their gaming PCs, even their PlayStations. All to simulate how proteins might fold. And still, progress was painfully slow. In the lab, scientists used experimental tools like cryo-electron microscopy. It's incredibly powerful, but also incredibly slow. Each protein structure could take months, sometimes years, to figure out. And that's just one protein. But the real reason this problem felt impossible was something called the Leventhal paradox. Here's what it says. Even a small protein can fold into more possible shapes. Then there are atoms in the entire universe. If a computer tried every option, one by one, it would take longer than the age of the universe. And yet, nature does it in milliseconds. Every time. Inside your cells. Without fail. That's the paradox. Proteins don't search randomly. They don't try every option. They know where to go. But for computers, that shortcut was invisible. This wasn't just a hard problem. It looked fundamentally impossible for traditional computing. And for 50 years. Then, something changed. The solution didn't come from a biology lab. It came from an AI lab. A company called DeepMind. And no, they weren't famous for medicine. They were famous for building artificial intelligence that mastered games humans thought were unbeatable. First, it defeated the world champion in chess-like games. Then, it conquered Go, a game so complex that experts thought no machine could master it. Later, it even learned to dominate StarCraft, a real-time strategy game filled with uncertainty, hidden information, and long-term planning. DeepMind had built AI that could find patterns where humans couldn't. And they wondered. What if protein folding is also a pattern recognition problem? Here was the breakthrough idea. Instead of trying to simulate physics step by step, AlphaFold would learn from nature itself. It was trained on a massive library called the Protein Data Bank. Tens of thousands of real protein structures. Solved experimentally over decades. The best folding answers humanity already had. You can think of it as a library of the universe's solutions. But here's the key part. AlphaFold didn't memorize rules from a textbook. And it didn't brute force every possible shape. Instead, it learned patterns. Relationships between amino acid sequences. And the final 3D structures they become. Over time, the neural network developed something close to intuition. An instinct for how proteins want to fold. And the most surprising part. AlphaFold doesn't simulate folding at all. It skips the journey. It looks at the sequence. And directly predicts the final 3D position. Of every single atom. In seconds. What once took years of experiments. Now happened faster than you could blink. Then came the moment that shocked the scientific world. Scientists compared AlphaFold's predictions to real protein structures solved experimentally. Side by side. And they didn't just look similar. They matched. Almost perfectly. Decades of work. Outperformed by an AI model. Trained to recognize nature's hidden rules. This was the moment people realized. The protein folding problem wasn't just improved. It was cracked. AlphaFold didn't just solve one protein. In 2021, DeepMind did something unprecedented. They released predicted structures for nearly every known protein on Earth. Almost 200 million proteins. Completely free. No paywalls. No permission required. No waiting years for experiments. Overnight, biologists everywhere gained access to knowledge that once took entire careers to uncover. It was like giving every scientist on the planet a new superpower. And the impact was immediate. In drug discovery, researchers no longer had to guess what their target looked like. They could see it. Drugs that once took years to design could now be developed in months. That's especially powerful for rare and neglected diseases. The ones that were never profitable enough to study deeply before. But medicine isn't the only place this matters. Scientists are now engineering plastic-eating enzymes. Proteins redesigned to break down pollution. That would normally last hundreds of years in the environment. Thanks to AlphaFold, they can see exactly how to modify these enzymes. Atom by atom. And when it comes to disease, AlphaFold lets scientists see how a single genetic mutation warps a protein's shape. How one tiny change can cause an entire system to fail. This is opening new doors for understanding Alzheimer's, cancer, and thousands of inherited disorders. But the biggest impact isn't any single breakthrough. It's the shift in how science itself works. AI is no longer just crunching data. It's helping us discover. It's finding patterns humans can't see. Shortcuts nature has always used, but never explained. Protein folding was a 50-year problem. Solved. The protein folding problem teaches us something bigger than biology. For centuries, science advanced with better microscopes, better telescopes, and faster computers. But now, we're entering a new era. One where the most powerful tool in science isn't just an instrument. It's a partner. Artificial intelligence. A new lens that lets us see the hidden machinery of life itself. What once took decades of human effort can now be unlocked in moments. Not by replacing scientists, but by working alongside them. And this is only the beginning. So here's the real question. What scientific problem should AI tackle next? Drug design itself? Understanding the human brain? Aging? Climate change? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories about how artificial intelligence is reshaping science, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.